for, 5 years, however many years it's been, I guess probably 7 now. Yeah. And read all these books about boundaries, right? And to me, that just meant putting up a lot of walls and fences. I was very reactionary. And they told me, the books would say, and the counselors would say, respond, don't react. But I had no idea, And so, and I was starting on the surface. Instead of fixing the foundation of my life, I was fixing the external, because all my life has been about the external.
You
how
got
do I look? How do I behave? And so I'm just trying to fix everything out here, right? And when I came to your conference and you said, if you feel resentful, that probably means you need to establish a boundary, I thought, my God, oh, that just clicked.
Okay.
Suddenly I had an emotional cue. Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had really just lived in this, such a constant state of resentment. I never knew, I would hear, oh, you have to set a boundary, but I would not know when. When do I set one? And so I was fine. At that point when I came to your conference, I was feeling myself in this place of being very frustrated, just very frustrated, because relationships in my life were just struggling on a professional level and a personal level, because I was constantly bottling everything up, and then I would just explode, and it would feel so ridiculous because there were all these little things that I would explode over.
Right, and I think that's the main problem. People hear the term boundaries, they say, respond instead of react, but they don't know exactly how to go about that, or as you said, when, or what will be my cues. So that was so good for you to take that and internalize that.
And that's why I read your book, because that single statement, I was like, okay, I need to read this book. If that single statement, I processed that for 2 weeks. I was thinking about it. What does this mean? Right?
Yeah. Really.
And then, so one of the second things then that really stood out to me, that was another cue. You said within 24 hours, you should take action. When something bothers you, within 24 hours, you should take action. Yeah. When I read this in the book, that made so much sense to me. That was another thing that clicked.
Okay.
Because, first of all, now I kind of had this feel for when I should set boundaries. But one was the very, very first moment when I know, I should do something, right? Because you don't you get irritated throughout the day or bothered or whatever, but you don't oh, okay, so Barbara, the way you're looking at me right now is bothering me. Well, I'm not that forthright, or whatever. You wouldn't just be constantly having word vomit about everything that bothers you, right? But if you wake up the next day, I guess, and something kind of is bugging you or bothering you, then you know you need to do something.
Yeah.
And I think what really clicked for me was that holding my tongue was not a spiritual practice.
Right.
So in your book, you talk about people-pleasing is not a spiritual gift.
Not a spiritual gift, right. I actually had someone say that to me. It's they really believed it.
Yeah, well, and I did too. I definitely thought that pleasing my elders or pleasing my people around me, that was, spiritual.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
But now I've realized, so the only time that it's spiritual or a God thing to hold your tongue is if, you're wanting to say something hurtful or damaging to someone else.
Right.
Otherwise, you should, let them know how you feel. And at first it was really weird to me, and my friends watching this will probably have noticed that in the past few months I've said, okay, so this is going to sound really weird right now, but yesterday you said this thing and it kind of bothered me, what did you mean by it? Or, hey, so yesterday this and this happened, and, and I felt like a fish out of the water to talk to any of my friends, and sometimes a week has gone by before I've had the nerve to say something. But there's so much freedom.
Isn't there?
Yeah.
Wow. And how many times did you find that they had no clue that they had upset you?
Oh, and so many times I just understood what they were saying in a way that they didn't ever mean.
No, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's definitely I've stopped. I've suddenly one day I realized I'm not writing these kind of bitter, passive aggressive Facebook posts about how people are just this and this and that.
Wow.
You know, because now when something bothers me, I'm going right to that person and saying, you know, hey, how did you mean that? Or,
Right.
hey, you know, like, I actually can't do that. I overpromised. You know, a lot of times it's me taking responsibility for something I've